Well, 6 o'clock, so I'd like to welcome everybody. Everybody hear me? I'd like to welcome everybody to the July 14th regular meeting of the Guymon City Council. So at this time, I'd like to invite Pastor Mark Westcoat of the Trinity Lutheran Church to come up and give our invocation for us. Please rise. About it.
Heavenly Father, gracious Lord, we thank you for all the blessings. Thank you for giving us freedom. Lord, we do have freedom with yourself for life freedom to each and every one. Lord, we ask that you bless the members of our church council, Lord, the decisions we make, that you lead and guide them to make the decisions.
Amen. Mr. Eggers, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call this meeting to order. Agenda item number 2 is the attendance roll call.
Egger,
Here.
Alvidrez,
Present.
Swager,
Here.
Livingood, Peterson,
Here.
Hoffman. Here. Mr. Petty,
Here.
Mr. Dunham.
Here.
Okay. Agenda item number 3 is public comments and announcements, but since it isn't live on YouTube, I don't think anybody from outside will know the call. But if they do, we'll answer during our Anybody have any public comments and announcements?
Vice Mayor, I do have an announcement I'd like to make. Recently, the city of Guymon was recognized as a city of certified excellence from the Certified Health of Oklahoma Authority, or TSET. What this does for us, we received this award because of awards and policies and decisions which the board has made in the past and put into place. And one of the things that this little award does for us is it allows us to qualify for grants that we could be applying for. Anywhere from the grants would be anywhere from something to do with wellness from TSET, or it does play a part in grants from the Department of Transportation and other granting authorities. Some of the other areas where it will help us in are sidewalk grants and safe routes to school grants. And these grant dollars range from anywhere from about $24,000 to about $120,000. And I just wanted to make the announcement that we did receive that, and we'll have this trophy sitting out here in the hallway in our row of trophies from Governmental Finance Association.
Good news. Any other public comments or announcements? Okay. Agenda item number 4 is approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Egger,
Aye.
Swager,
Aye.
Alvedras,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 4 ayes.
Agenda item number 5 is discussion and possible action to approve resolution number 20-08, a fiscal year 2020 budget amendment in the amount of $286,360, a grant from the Oklahoma Department of Transportation and for the CARE Act, and from the CARE Act to assist in the operational expenses for transportation operations. The city manager's comment and the resolution is attached. Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve resolution number 20-08 for the fiscal year 2020 budget amendment in the amount of $286,360, a grant from the Oklahoma Department of Transportation and from the CARES Act.
I second it.
Have a motion and a second?
Alvedras,
Aye.
Swager,
Aye.
Egger,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 4 ayes.
Agenda item number 6 is discussion and possible action on authorizing the mayor to sign the lease agreement with the Bank of the Panhandle for 4 police cars at the amount of $124,436. I think that we approved that at
Yep.
several meetings back. Any discussion?
I make a motion that we approve item 6, a discussion and possible action on authorizing the mayor to sign the lease agreement with the Bank of the Panhandle for 4 police cars in the amount of $124,436.
Second.
Have a motion and a second?
Alvedras,
Aye.
Egger,
Aye.
Swager,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 4 ayes.
Agenda item number 7 is discussion and possible action on authorizing the mayor to sign the interlocal contract for cooperative purchasing with HGAC. The city manager's commentary and interlocal contract is attached.
One of the things I'd say about this contract, just to kind of give you a little bit of a background on it, is that it is very similar to the Oklahoma Central Purchases Agency, where they do all the bidding and everything for cities, and they have the products already at the lowest and best bid. It saves us time and saves us funds by being a member of this and being able to purchase products from this agency. One of the items that we are looking at in the future that is on this HGA, some of the items that would be on this HGAC contract would be, and we're looking at, is a fire truck. It'll be a good thing for us to be a member of it and participate in it. We won't purchase a lot from it, but they're pretty big items.
Is there a fee or cost to us to join?
No, the fee and cost is paid for by the vendors who participate. It's free to cities and towns.
I make a motion that we approve item 7, authorizing the mayor to sign the interlocal contract for the cooperative purchasing with HGAC.
Second.
Have a motion and a second?
Swager,
Aye.
Egger,
Aye.
Alvedras,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 4 ayes.
Agenda item number 8 is discussion and possible action to approve the revised 2020 employee manual and policies for the city of Guymon.
I'll start this out, then we'll let the HR Director, Vicki Wilson, step in. Our policies and procedures for non-contract employees is over 10 years old. It was, last time it was updated and approved was December 10th of 2009. This is something that we've been working on to try to get us into a situation where we can just start making smaller changes instead of great big changes like what is in this manual. We have utilized the Oklahoma Municipal Assurance Group's attorneys and to review the contract, to review the document. This is a service that they provide as the city's liability insurance carrier. And Vicki, is there anything you'd like to add? If you've had a chance to review it, I'd answer, or Vicki can answer any questions that you may have about it.
Well, I spent 30 minutes with Mr. Dunham over the phone this afternoon discussing it, and he answered all my questions, so.
I have one question on the organizational chart where we're not a mayor-strong council. Is there anything to that organizational chart as we send that out?
Say that again?
We're not a mayor-strong council, meaning,
Right.
and this shows mayor-strong.
Well, what this that can be something that's changed very easily. It's just a matter of moving that on the organizational chart. I understand what you're saying.
Were there any other big changes, Vicki, moving forward that we need to know about? Yeah, that are going to be. Okay. I guess one question I would have along that too is, do we do employee evaluations at certain intervals and all that?
We do. In the past, we've done employee evaluations at the beginning of every calendar year or physical year for us. That's something I'm going to change because that's a lot of evaluations to try to get through in a short time frame. We're going to start doing those on employee anniversary days. It spreads it out over the year. There is some cost savings to the city by doing that. And it's not quite as burdensome on the directors at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
Exit interviews, are those in the manual?
Any other discussion?
I make a motion that we approve the revised 2020 employee manual and policies for the city of Guymon.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Egger,
Aye.
Swager,
Aye.
Alvedras,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 4 ayes.
And that does come with the one change to the organizational chart.
Yes.
Thank you.
I do know that sometimes funding and things are based on the right.
Okay. Agenda item number 9 is discussion and possible action on the nominations of an Oklahoma Economic Development Authority board member to represent Texas County. The commentary and the form is there. I've been that board member for, 8 years, 9 years. And they just re-upped me. But do whatever you want to do.
I make a motion that we appoint Mr. Peterson for the OEDA representative.
A second.
Have a motion and a second.
Alvedras,
Aye.
Swager,
Aye.
Egger,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 4 ayes.
Agenda item number 10 is discussion and possible action concerning the Texas County Juvenile Detention Center in Hooker, Oklahoma. I think, Mr. Swagger, this is your...
I did request this to be on the agenda tonight. I think the Juvenile Detention Center is not only a positive for the Oklahoma Panhandle, but also for the city of Guymon. And I invited several people from the county to come, Mr. Keating. Jerry, I didn't get your last name. I apologize. Okay. And Ms. Dickie Bryant and Mr. Boyne, I think, has a little presentation for us. If you'd like to come up and tell us what's going on with the detention center.
I will try to be very brief, and I think you have a handout that I prepared briefly this afternoon, very quickly this afternoon. I do want to thank you as a council for recognizing the importance of, to our area, of having a juvenile detention center and placing this matter on your agenda for discussion. You can get more information from the handout. Just in summary of that, though, in 1994, the legislature mandated that the Office of Juvenile Affairs establish and create, if you will, juvenile detention centers all around the state of Oklahoma. And specifically in that legislation, they directed that their intent was to provide those services throughout the state on a geographic basis in order for all areas of the state of Oklahoma to have reasonable access to those important services of having a place to take kids under 18 years of age to place in secure detention when they've committed violent crimes, when they have committed a number of crimes, property crimes, crimes against other persons. We see a number of different types of individuals going into the detention facility, runaways, things of that nature, kids that come from an environment where they have most often very little parental supervision. In a lot of situations, no parents at home most of the day, very little discipline, and there are just a lot of economic factors that play into this as well. But most of the kids that we deal with, not all of them, have very little structure in their lives. And when they commit offenses, they break into your house, they beat their mother up, they drag their grandmother down the street by the hair of the head, they sexually abuse their little sister or their cousin, they rape another person. I mean, we're talking about all kinds of crimes. Or they get a gun and shoot a couple of people because their drug deal didn't go down just right. Or they got mad at them about something that didn't make sense because they're doing meth. And those are just a smattering of the array of kids that we deal with, quite honestly, on almost a daily basis. Our goal is to not put kids in detention. The goal of the juvenile system is to provide these kids with counseling, with mentors, with home action plans, helping the family to try to correct the issues that have led or created these problems to start with. But you reach a point that more drastic action is necessary at times. Especially when we get into the area of violent crimes or repeated offenses over and over. We have a great bunch of juvenile OJA workers here, caseworkers that work with these kids. We have a number of counseling provisions that work with the kids. We've established a mentoring program that has been a great thing for some of these kids. As you might well know and assume, that takes with some, it doesn't take with some. It takes the first time with a few, sometimes it takes more. One of the main benefits of our detention center is when we have kids here that they commit some kind of an offense, maybe shoplifting. They don't go to detention. They go on probation. They get a counselor. They get a worker, caseworker. They report to the judge. The judge oversees and supervises how are they doing on probation. Are they attending school? Are they doing the things they're required to do? they commit another offense, that's elevated a little bit more. And at some point, we have the option of putting these kids in detention, frankly, in an effort to try to get their attention. We use the facility considerably for that because a lot of these kids, like I said, they don't come from a structured environment. They're not receptive a lot of times to discipline or authority. So sometimes you have to get their attention a little bit, and the detention facility is one of the few ways that we actually have of doing that, putting a kid in there for a couple of days. The critical thing we're looking at is in May, without any notice to us, well, let me back up. Since about 1995-96, the Office of Juvenile Affairs has contracted with Texas County to provide the 6-bed detention facility in Texas County required by the legislature. Texas County agreed to build that facility, and they have continued to maintain and upkeep and improve it. What OJA does is they pay for the 6 beds at a daily rate in an amount that basically is necessary to provide the 24/7, 365-day-a-year staffing, plus meals, plus cover medical, and all the things that we have to do when we have a kid in custody. That's a substantial fund. It's about $30,000 a month. It's a lot of money. With the budget cuts, OJA, without notice to Texas County in May at their board meeting, adopted a revised plan which in effect eliminated the funding for our facility. Our contract is on an annual automatic renewal thing. They cut our funding. So we filed a request for reconsideration with OJA, gathered a lot of information, submitted that to them at their June board meeting. A motion was made to actually refund us or put us back in their plan. That motion died for lack of second. I would point out that everybody on the OJA board is either from the Oklahoma City area or the Tulsa area. I don't think there's one rural person on the whole board. And that's kind of where we stand. As a result of that, the county commissioners felt it was significant enough, and the impact upon our community, our kids, the safety of the citizens of our county, just the safety of family, that it was critical that we try to keep that facility. They authorized my office to get the assistance of other counsel, and we have filed litigation, a case against OJA. We are seeking a judicial order that they continue that contract based upon the legislative mandate that we think is clearly there in the statute. We are asking for a temporary order to require them to continue funding us during the pendency of this case. I don't know when this case will be concluded. The problem we are facing is that funding will run out sometime in August. If we are not successful in getting temporary funding, the county simply, with the cuts that it has received and the budget, the funds shortage, downturn that we've had, there's simply not any funding or not near enough funding at the county level to continue to pay the full-time staffing that's required. So we're going to be looking at having to make a difficult decision if the court does not order OJA to continue funding during the pendency of the case, to possibly shutting the facility down sometime in August or by the end of August. And that's pretty much where we are right now. There's a lot of other things I could say. I could tell you stories about the impact this facility's had on these kids. And that's the most critical thing to my office, and I know the judges, I know the OJA workers, is the impact it has upon the kids in our community. And it's not just our community. We quite often, if our facility is closed, the closest facility is in Woodward. That's a 2-hour trip. There are very few of our parents of those kids that can take off work and travel to Woodward and be gone half a day or all day to see their kids while they're in detention. Most of those kids are already in a counseling program with local counselors. The counselors can't drive back and forth to Woodward to continue that. The mentoring programs, we can't continue those when the kids are in Woodward. But the biggest problem is Woodward is full most of the time. So our next closest facility is Enid. They're full most of the time. In fact, it's not unusual for us to get kids sent up here when they're full. Beyond that, we're looking at traveling at least to the Oklahoma City area, if not all the way to the eastern edge of Oklahoma to find another facility. When we go to talking about that kind of deal, it's more detrimental to these kids unless they have committed a homicide or a very serious violent crime. It's more detrimental to ship those kids all the way across the state than it is to keep them here and try to figure out some other way of dealing with them. And I would point out, the law prohibits us from putting any of these kids under 18 years of age in jail. So without the detention facility, if we can't put these kids in jail or a detention facility, what are we going to do with them? And that creates some real problems, especially when they beat up their mom or their grandmother, or they raped a sibling, or Lord knows what, or they have serious drug problems. We're dealing with that all the time. How do we help these kids? We can't just keep them in the same environment. And so it's critically important to our community that we have that facility. I appreciate the Civic Council recognizing this and putting it on your agenda. I don't have a suggestion on how to solve that problem other than I would encourage you all to consider the possibility of maybe appointing one or two of your council members to visit and stay in contact with the county for possibly some discussions about if there's something the city can do and the county can do to maybe keep the doors open till we can at least get this case resolved. Other funding sources are so limited, we haven't been able to find anything else. But that's the only suggestion and way I know of going forward at this point is to just get a line of communication going if you feel like it's important to the city, which I strongly believe it is. I think somebody just needs to be in direct communication with the commissioners because it's a priority for them and my office too. So,
Mike, if that stays open for a short period and you bring kids from Enid because there's only 4 kids, you have openings essentially?
Yes.
Is there funding that comes from Enid then to help?
We've received kids in this facility from literally all over the state. When other facilities are full, we have one county that's pretty far over east. I don't remember which county it is now. They send kids over here all the time because it's their preferred county. When they're full, they'd rather transport them to this facility because of the quality of the facility and our staffing. The kids just get along better here. We've got a great staff. We've got a very good and very secure facility. And people don't mind sending their kids here other than the travel. But it's when the other facilities are full. Or like recently, I know my son in Woodward, they took a kid from way over in northeast Oklahoma. They had 3 kids that killed another kid. So they had to split those kids up into 3 different facilities. So they spread them out. One of them ended up in Woodward. We have that kind of thing.
But does the county get funding for that child from a different?
Well, just through the state. They fund us those beds. They pay us for those beds. It's $140-some, I believe, a day per bed. And what they've calculated out is it takes so much staff to keep any facility open 24/7 year-round. And that's about $30,000 to pay staff and to provide basic services. So they split that up between and they've just determined, OJA will tell you, and everybody's agreed, reducing the number of beds is not a benefit. I mean, if we
I was
cut
wondering if expanding the number of beds would actually be.
If we cut it to 3 or 4 beds, it still takes the same amount of funding. So they've made a determination that it's not feasible to have any detention facility with less than 6 beds. So that's where we are. We're the smallest facility in the state.
But you don't get
and
any funding from those other communities if they send a kid
No,
here?
we're contracted with them and they're contracted with us. It's just a deal, if we have medical expenses or something like that, we can get some reimbursement. But the state basically pays us for our 6 beds on a daily basis.
If you
OJA
need,
does.
if you need the city's help, what does that look like financially? I mean, do you have an idea like the county's going to put forth in conjunction?
I'm sorry.
So if the city, what is your ask of the city? Is it, do you have a dollar amount at the moment, or is that what we need to discuss?
Could you come up with $30,000 a month?
Minus 20, sure.
No, well, I mean, and that's the
Yeah,
dilemma,
no,
and I throw that out there, not
Yeah.
totally joking. I mean, that's the dilemma the commissioners face is, Lord, where do we come up with $30,000 a month to keep this thing open?
Yeah.
And they just do not have that. So, they have to reach out to partners, and unfortunately, I don't want to speak for Cimarron County, but I think everybody's generally familiar with what that funding.
Well, and they have a terrible tax base because they're all grasslands.
Right, and so the load kind of rests right here. But we probably, Texas County is 90% of our utilization.
Yeah, and you're asking for funding till the lawsuit's settled.
Yes, if we can get that resolved and hopefully as soon as possible, but David can tell you just don't know how those things are gonna go.
Yeah.
And we're on a short time frame.
Oh, we all
So-
know attorneys can drag their feet.
Yeah, well, it's just a deal, we just don't know how that's gonna go, but if somebody could, if you all have some discussions or want to try to figure out some ways to help, probably the best way to do that would be have one of your council members visit and get with the county commissioners or whatever, so we can kind of try to get some ideas of what might be possible.
And that's why I wanted it on the agenda, so it at least came to our attention, and we can maybe try to figure out if there's some way we can help.
And I do
keep
think it's a very viable, I mean, I've heard a lot of scuttle about it closing, and how it's going to hurt the town of Hooker and different
Frankly, it
things.
was very underhanded the way they
Yeah.
did it. I wasn't very happy about that. I don't think anybody else was. They didn't extend even a phone call. We actually found out about it through a third party. So anyway, and Mr. Keeling is here, county commissioners, and if you have any questions you want to direct to him, I'll back out of the way if you need to ask him any questions.
I think I'm good. I do think somebody needs to visit, and I think we do need to partner on deals like that.
Thank you all again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 11 is discussion and acknowledgement of the resignation of Mr. Johnny Curtis from the Board of Adjustments and Planning and Zoning Board. And commentaries there, that leaves a vacancy on each one of those boards, since we've got that dual serving deal. So I think you're already advertising for people who might be interested in being on that board.
Yeah, we've got several boards that are needing appointments made to them that we're trying to get applications in on.
We should have Mr. Curtis here tonight so we could have thanked him for his service. We'll send him a card. So, anybody else have any discussion on that? No. Anybody want to acknowledge?
He served on that board quite a while.
Okay, agenda, Benji, don't run off. We should have fit you in there a little bit quicker on this deal, Chief.
Do we get to vote on Benji's retirement?
That's what we're waiting on. We're keeping him sweating out there, whether we're going to let him go or not. So, agenda item number 11 is discussion and possible action, including possible executive session pursuant to 25 Oklahoma statutes 307B4 for confidential discussion with the city attorney concerning a pending investigation, claim, or action. I have a motion to go into executive session.
Make a motion to go in executive session, item 12.
A second.
Have a motion and a second.
Egger,
Aye.
Alvedras.
Aye.
Swager.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We have 4 ayes.
We'll stand adjourned. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
We lost one, he'll be back. We lost one, but he'll find his way back in.
Oh.
Jim, we're going to do the employee retirement board next. Well, I told you, you asked me to tell you, so there you go. Hope you didn't fall in. Picture of the post office.
Make a motion that we reconvene.
Second.
Have a motion and a second that we reconvene.
Egger.
Aye. Here.
Swager.
Yes.
Aye.
Alvedras.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 4 ayes.
We'll reconvene as the Guymon City Council, we'll reconvene. There's no action taken. So with that, we'll adjourn as the Guymon City Council. We're going to reconvene. The next meeting we're going to do is a special meeting of the Employee Retirement Board. So we've already called the meeting to order. Agenda item number 2 is to approve the minutes of the special meeting of February 11th, 2020.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes of the special meeting February 11th, 2020.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Egger.
Aye.
Swager.
Aye.
Alvedras.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 4 ayes.
Agenda item number 3 is discussion and acknowledgement of regular distribution for Benji Fuentes and presentation of the service award. So do we have a motion to disperse for a block disbursement to Mr. Fuentes' retirement fund? I didn't say that right. Is that what he wanted, Joe Don?
Yeah, that's what we need. It's just a formality so that he can get his retirement.
We might not approve
I make a,
He's still a paperwork.
it. It doesn't matter.
It's just a formality. I think he's going to get it.
Oh, okay.
I make a motion regular distribution for Benji Fuentes and presentation of service award, item 3.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second.
Egger.
Aye.
Alvedras.
Aye.
Swager.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 4 ayes.
But this time, Chief, I'll turn it over to you. Chief Babb.
Do you have anything you would like to say, Chief Beck? Anything that's worth saying? Benji, if I could just come up here for a minute, I would like to make a record. I would like to give you a couple minutes. We do have Benji's come and go reception scheduled for July 30th. Benji has been with the city of Guymon for 32 years. That's a long time for one employee. He's been a very valuable employee, done a lot of great things for us. We appreciate his tireless service greatly. We did have a plaque made for him to commemorate this. I would like to read it to you. It says, presented to Benjamin L. Fuentes. This award is presented in appreciation for 32 years of untiring service. Your loyalty and friendship will be long remembered. Best of luck on your retirement. May you be proud of the work you have done, the person you are, and the difference you have made. Guymon City Council 2020.
Congratulations.
Now they said you were going to give up your kingdom speech.
He said no, sorry.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 4 is reports from committees, council members, and city manager. But I think we're going to add one to that, and we'll let Grant. Wadley, Grant, do you want to have anything you'd like to say tonight about what's going on, about tomorrow, whatever?
As many of you know, the Guymon Fire Department, the City of Guymon, lost a very good employee, somebody that we've loved for many years. Susie Ronnie, who was the fire department's administrative secretary, passed away this last Saturday morning, about 2:30 in the morning, from a short-term illness that she had. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning at Connection Church at 1900 block of Leela, there'll be a funeral service for her. She will have fire department honors, and we'd like all city employees and anybody in the public that would like to attend to please do so. She's been a station mother for us. There's so many different things that Susie's been involved in. 33 years of moving golf carts out of the golf course. She's also known as NASCAR Mom. Never seen anybody back a golf cart up like her in my life. And she did that for 33 years and did it, all the way till this year. So she's been a big part of the city of Guymon for many years. A wonderful person. There will be no replacing her at all. And we're privileged to have her in our lives and to be remembered by her. That should be it. Questions? Thank you all.
Thank you. And our condolences. Have any reports or comments from council members? It's hot. Observation, not a report. Joe Don? All right.
First, just kind of give you a synopsis of some of the upcoming contracts and negotiations we have. Over the next few months, we're going to be negotiating both the fire and the police union contract for 2021. We'll be discussing the gas purchase contract, and we'll be discussing the renewal of the contract with Infomark for the management of the wastewater system. Moving on, we've got the Nash Soccer Complex. They have completed the subgrade on Field 2 and are moving on to stabilization. They should be finished with the subgrade on Field number 1 by the end of the week. They've run into some issues with the sewer line coming out of the concession building and getting it to the manhole, and getting the manhole in, that they're working on and getting resolved. I think we got that resolved pretty much on today's conference call. They'll be moving in rock. They anticipate moving in rock for the drainage next Tuesday. You may have noticed there is some traffic work going out, street work going on out here on Main Street. This is being done by ODOT, and what they're doing is some core samples for pending constructions. We are in the process of evaluating the City of Guymon policies and procedures, standard operating procedures. The two that'll be first on the list to evaluate and make presentations on will be the purchasing policy and the utility billing policy. We've been working with Dana Pet Foods over the past few months, trying to help them get their DEQ consent order cleared up. To make it clear, they are under a consent order. The City of Guymon is not, but we are helping to clear that up. One of the things that I think that is going to resolve that is, and unfortunately the City of Guymon has to do this because of the way it was done to be in the beginning, but have a new engineering report for permitting allocations. This is something I am getting quotes on and verifying the work on and costs before we make any kind of presentations on that. We have approximately, well, we have exactly 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 open board positions. So if you know of anybody to fill these board seats, please ask them to get applications in. We've got 2 open seats on the golf board, 2 open seats on the Board of Adjustment, 2 open seats on the GAAHC board, and 1 each for the Parks Board and the Cemetery Board. We do have 3 applications in for the Cemetery Board. That board will be meeting, I believe, on the 22nd to discuss, and hopefully out of that meeting they'll have a recommendation. Some of the things that we're going to be working on for boards is develop a training manual and for each board, and hold some training on the boards so they understand what they're being asked to do. We are moving forward with the dog park plans. We do have a real nice brochure made up that I will be emailing out to you, where we have evaluated the locations, and the most feasible location for us to try to construct a dog park right now is going to be, that we feel is going to be the park over, I can't think of the park name now. Over by the Nash Soccer Complex.
Regional Park.
Excuse me?
No Man's Land Regional
No Man's Land Regional Park. And the park board will be discussing the dog park plans and how we came up with our recommendation. The park board will be discussing before it comes to the council. We did deliver out budget information earlier this month. I'll be sending out some additional information to committees for their input. The goal is, and the plan is, to have the budget passed by the first December, the council meeting in December. I'll be meeting with Cardinal Engineering later on this week to review our water system and wastewater improvements that are needed. Some of the meetings that we've got coming up right now, we are still planning the OML annual conference in September. I have some rooms set aside if you would like to attend please let me know so I can have your name placed on one of those rooms. And that'll be in Oklahoma City in September. The CMA Summer Conference is going to be held in August. I'm trying to check to see if that conference will still be held, and if so, I do plan to attend that conference. I am planning on taking 3 days of vacation at the end of this month to take my wife on a quick little vacation before school starts back up. You do have a listing in the packet of board minutes that for boards that were held since the last meeting. This will be a regular on our council agendas. And I'll just put them out there for your review. The last thing I have, and you should have several copies of financial information that for the financial report that was given out. I will hit some of the highlights of them. And that yeah. On the revenue side, we're looking at about a 4% downturn in sales and use tax combined from last year. And we're about 2% down. Well, we're 2% down as a comparison to July of last year for sales tax, and we're 16% down as a comparison to last year for use tax. I think this is a direct reflection of our economy and COVID-19 issues that are out. People just aren't getting out and doing any shopping except for necessities. And we're not getting a lot of people coming in, except for the necessities that are required. We're not getting a lot of people come in from outside of the community to shop that we normally get and that we would normally plan for. Whereas this isn't great news, it's a lot better news than what a lot of communities are having to face right now in their sales and use tax. Some of the things that concern me, and one of the things that I talked to staff about at the beginning of the week, was some of the reports I'm hearing is people are already looking forward and trying to do some pre-planning for what's going to happen in the Christmas season. Retailers, or some of the news reports I'm hearing and watching now show that retailers are already gearing up to a different type of retail market. They don't, for example, Black Friday, where they have a lot of retail sales, they don't expect the crowds that they've had in the past. And what are the retailers going to do to address this? If it could, it's a double-edged sword. One, we won't have a lot of retail, but if a lot of people shop online and have their products delivered to their house in Guymon, Guymon should still benefit from those retail sales and the collection of those use taxes. But if they live outside of the city of Guymon and have that done and delivered to their house, then we would not collect on that sales tax. So it's a real slippery slope that we're walking on. There's a lot of unknowns coming up. As far as our expenditures are concerned, across all funds, we've spent about 45% of our anticipated budget. And in June, we would anticipate this to be 50% because we're halfway through the year. Obviously, the big category that we have expenditures on is personnel services. Services and charges are our next largest category at 21% of our total expenditures. Personnel services is 33. One of the things that's in services and charges are utility bills and some of our contractor payments, which will amount to a very high expenditure rate. That's the reason those two are the highest. Debt service is about 15% of our anticipated budget. And cost, materials and supplies, capital outlay, and transfers make up the balance of the 31%. Yeah, I know that the financial report was just given to you today. If you look that over, and if you have any questions about it, please give me a call. I'll be happy to discuss it individually with you. It is something that is heavily on my mind, at least right now, on how we can make sure that we get everything done. One of the things I did tell staff earlier this week that we won't be looking at we're not looking at doing layoffs or anything like that has happened in other communities, but we are going to put or freeze any capital purchases that do not have direct dollars tied to them. So capital expenditures for Nash Soccer Complex will continue. There are direct dollars that are, and those dollars are already collected that we will expend on. But if the capital outlay item doesn't have any direct dollars tied to them, we won't be doing them this year. Staff will need to look at starting to rebudget those for next year. And other than that, I'll try to answer any questions that you may have.
Good. All right, thank you.
Good report.
New business, we'll stand adjourned as the Guymon Utilities report. Stand adjourned as the Employee Retirement Board. We will reconvene as Guymon Utilities. Too many meetings here. Agenda item number 2 is approve the minutes of the special meeting of May the 12th of 2020.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes of the special meeting of the Guymon Utility Authority, May 12, 2020.
Second it.
Have a motion and a second.
Alvedras,
Aye.
Swager.
Aye.
Egger.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 4 ayes.
Agenda item number 3 is discussion and possible action to approve a resolution number 20-03, the budget amendment in the amount of $16,360, an additional transfer from the GUA to the airport fund for grant matching funds for the Federal Aviation Administration to start design of rehabilitation of runways 18 and 36 and parallel taxiways. And this is to get us.
This is just a routine item that we have to make sure our budget stays correct. Because we didn't budget for the taxiway, the runway rehabilitation, we've got an FAA grant that we're going to be paying out about $163,000 that we will for the design of that rehabilitation. Our matching portion of that rehabilitation is $16,360. We're currently working on it. We've already signed a contract for it. We just need to get the budget right for the transfer.
I make a motion that we approve item 3.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second.
Alvedras,
Aye.
Egger,
Aye.
Swager.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 4 ayes.
Okay. go to the, did we do the utility? Or was that
That one was the airport.
okay. We'll reconvene as the Guymon Utilities Authority. Need to approve the minutes of special meeting 512-20.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes from 512-20 of the Utility Authority.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Swager.
Aye.
Egger.
Aye.
Alvedras.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 4 ayes.
Agenda item number three is discussion of possible action to approve resolution number 20-03, a budget amendment in the amount of $16,360 in additional transfer from the GUA to the airport fund for grant matching funds for the Federal Aviation Administration to design the rehabilitation of runways 18-36 and parallel taxiways.
I make a motion that we approve item 3.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Swager.
Aye.
Egger.
Aye.
Alvedras.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 4 ayes.
Any other new business? We'll stand adjourned.